gave you your child, not randomly. Hashem understood that this particular neshama has to go to this particular family, that this particular family is the one, the only ones who can deal with this particular child. Everything is thought out by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And no two children are the same. A child can be restless and aggressive. A child can be calm and thoughtful. Children are so different. And you may think to yourself, well, if only I had a different child, a child that had what I really want to, it would be amazing. My life would be different. My chinuch would be different. That's a terrible, terrible mistake. It's a terrible mistake. And
seems like the mash is cut off. I'm sure I'll get a call in a couple of seconds to try to get him back on. So just bear with us.
Mr. Apter, it looks like you're giving the shear. Step it up.
The mash is giving the shear to me specifically because my kids are driving me nuts. I don't think I can be the one giving this shear.
Do you have a fast DSL connection? Do you need to raise money for that? So if they continue doing this over the next couple of months, we could have seamless transmission.
That would be awesome. I encouraged the Mash to have one of his sons call his provider and just try to get them to speed up his connection as a first step, but I'm not sure where that went. So we'll.
You want to let the group know what the?
Okay. I'm very sorry, but one second. I'm going back to Zoom. Zoom. Okay.
Love you, Mash.
Yeah. I feel terrible. What happened was that it was connected to my modem, which is a little bit better, but it was connected to my, and it got messed up. Okay, so am I back with? Okay, great.
You're back
okay.
Perfectly.
Apologize. I had to take it off the modem, which is not working properly, and put it onto the whatever its own.
Nothing like 56K modem.
The guys want to raise money to get Rebbe a better internet connection.
Look, I just want to find somebody to come here and give me a new one. It's very hard to get people to do anything in this day and age. But Meitz Hashem, but maybe by next week for sure I will have a Bez Hashem, a new modem. Okay, now
I actually think that this should be an option even after the restrictions have been lifted, because I would love to be able to attend Shiurim more often.
Yeah, we're planning to keep on many Shiurim. Trying to do many Shiurim.
You're gonna have to give us Shiurim until Mashiach comes, so you better get a good modem, please.
Now, when Mashiach comes, you're all coming to Eretz Yisrael, and together in Yerushalayim, we'll sit and we'll talk in person. You don't have to need a modem when Mashiach comes. Till
Mashiach comes. You got to get us out of here.
Okay, it's not such a long time, but okay, I agree. Okay, now, so we're saying like this: children are very, very different, and no two children are the same. And he makes a comment. Is living in Munam. He makes a comment that that every child has a different mission. He says character traits are pre-programmed. He says character traits are pre-programmed. Now, what I think he's talking about, is the not all character traits are pre-programmed. Some of them, first of all, a person can get when he is young, get by certain experiences which he has. Some he can change himself, right? Character traits are midos. It means you can change yourself, right? The Mishgiach up there, the Mishgiach says that the first thing, a character trait, to some extent, a midah is when you think about when something happens, someone says something to insult you, you get angry, right? The first reaction to it, right? Let's say some people see themselves, let's say if you're in the British Parliament, you start pounding on the table. If you're the president of the United States, I don't want to say, you may even ask Hashem curse. Right? Everybody reacts differently, but you have certain Shiurim, you have certain pictures in your mind. Someone gets angry, someone challenges you, someone says the wrong thing to you, someone insults you. So you have Shiurim, you have pictures in your mind of how to react. That's midas, but midas can be changed. You can take that siur of a person losing his temper and substitute it for a person being calm and thinking before he says and reacting to it, responding, not reacting, responding to it in such a way that, is this really what you meant? Did you want to say this? Is this the message you want to give me? Yeah. So it's very, very important. So when he says that the character traits are pre-programmed, he's talking about the roots of the traits, right? We are born with certain roots. It's like, or let's say a tendency to one will be given a tendency to godless, and one a tendency to anger, and one a tendency, right? And we can change that. We can change it. We can change our midos. We can change our behavior. Let's put it that way. Our behavior based upon those midos, we can change. But it could be, we can also change the roots, but it's very difficult. The roots usually stay, and they can come back at any time. And it could be that you've spent years overcoming certain tendencies, and all of a sudden the root is still there and it flashes back to you, right? So the roots are pre-programmed, most of them, and we have to be careful with them. So we have to know our child. We have to know what are his midos. We have to know what are his roots. But the most important thing is that we have to accept it. We have to accept it, right? We can get a child that has certain pre-programmed midas, right? We can't choose what we want. Hashem doesn't ask us, but we have to know it's not random. If our children have certain midos, then Hashem calculates, it's a quote from what he says, with great precision, which soul, which neshama needs to be sent to which family. It's not at all arbitrary. Hashem thinks this particular family can work with this particular child. Now, the family may want something else. They may have desired something else. If they were asked, they wouldn't have asked for this child. But you can't think like that. And if you think like that, no matter how you try to hide it, children are extremely perceptive. If you are disappointed with them, in them, they're going to know it. It's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt them. You have to feel Hashem gave you this child. This is your mission in life. This is your task in life. You're here for this purpose. Hashem didn't give you a child that has all the godless and the midos and the goals that you would like. That's not your purpose in life. And it's so important for you to accept it and to let the child know that you accept it, and not to try to make him something which he is not, right? It's the same thing with talents, right? Same thing with talents. A musician naturally wants his child to be a musician, right? If you try to make your child into a musician and he doesn't have the talent for it, you're going to hurt him. You're going to hurt him. Can you imagine what would have happened if my parents, Aleha Shalom, would try to make me into a singer? They both have good voices. They both carry tunes. They both sing. Both have good voices. Had good voices. so what if they want to make me into a singer? Now, okay, they also had a good sense of humor. But can you imagine the catastrophe, right? The calamity if they try to make me into a singer, right? That. Chas v'sholom, we have to be careful. And
Everyone would miss chakras.
yeah. You can give your child chas v'sholom an inferiority complex if you don't accept his talent limitations. That's my own quote. If you don't accept his talent limitations, you give him an inferiority. He can feel, I'm not beseder, I'm not good, I'm not, and that is very, very crucial. Let's see. Let's say what happens if your child has a physical or mental disorder, right? That means that's a compliment to you. That means that Hashem gave you a child which is going to be difficult. You haven't been able to be the proper parent for this child. And I guess many of you fellows know that I have a grandson that has a Down syndrome. Although sometimes the way he runs around, I think it's an up syndrome. But it's just amazing. I hope he's not listening. But my son really and his wife really, they know how to handle it. They research it. They ask people. Hashem gave him to the right parents, and they're amazing with him. Right, I understand. But I hear David. So they're mamish amazing with him. They're so good with him, and they accept him. They love him. They work with him. It takes 10, maybe 100 times harder than other children, but they've learned how to do it and how to, and it's just such a beautiful thing to see. They should know that Hashem gave Dafka, this child, to them because Hashem felt that they could handle it. And that's very, 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 very precious thing. Okay. Now, that's the first thing. One, be happy with the child that you have. Don't try to make him something he isn't. Be besimcha that Hashem gave you to work on this particular child, and know that that's your task in life. And don't think about anything else. Okay. The second thing is that we don't always see results right away. A fellow came to Neveh, resisted any change, right? He was a good boy. We've talked, we got some points across, but he resisted change. And unfortunately, he left before he should have without changing. And we thought that all our work was perhaps in vain. It was years later, that we hear he's a different person. He's a different person. And he himself told us, right, that all those ideas, he heard, he just wasn't ready for it. But when he was ready for it, he absorbed it, but he wasn't ready for it. He was ready for it, he became a different person. Sometimes parents tell a child, don't get wild in shul. You have to be calm. You have to go in and sit by your dad and daven with him, right? And he runs around and you keep on telling him and he keeps on doing his thing. But then all of a sudden, he's sitting by his Abba. He's davening beautifully. What happened? He heard everything that you were saying. He absorbed it. But his body, his body wasn't ready for it. His neshama was ready for it, maybe, but his body wasn't ready for it. When his body became ready for it, then whatever you said came through. So don't be disappointed if you see that what you're telling your child seems to be in vain. It never is. Sometimes it takes until the child is 7 years old, and sometimes until he's 14 years old, and sometimes, like he writes, it's until he grows up. It doesn't make a difference, right? Okay. So just now to sum up, and then I'll open up for discussion. We can continue on this topic. There's a lot of things to discuss, but first you should accept your child as a gift from the heaven, and know that it's not random. He's given to you because you have the ability to make him to be mechanech, and it was precise planning by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Not arbitrary. So be happy with it. Secondly, know that your advice, your instruction, your concepts you're trying to convey, know that they make an impression on your child. He may not react to it right away. It may take years, but they make a difference. They make a difference. And that's what chinuch is all about. Okay, can we open it up now to any comments, questions? The floor is yours, fellows.
Mother shut off, remember, this is him.
He's so soft-spoken and
Yeah.
smart.
Everybody can unmute themselves and mute themselves at this point to ask questions.
I got a question. Mosh, everybody with me?
We
Yeah,
hear you,
well,
but we don't see who. It looks like the Mash's screen is frozen.
No,
Yaakov,
I'm there. I was just turning to you guys. That's all.
unfortunately, I only walked into the shiur in the last 10 minutes, and I'm wondering if a parent doesn't pick up right away, what are their child's shortcomings? What is the best tool they can use to to figure that out?
Well, you have to know your child. You have to get to know him, and
Boy, my children are infants.
your accurate observation, right? See how he reacts to things, how he talks, what makes him happy, what makes him depressed, what makes him excited, what makes him calm. You have to just, there's no substitute. You have to get to know your child, and that's the very first thing. I once was at a conference of mishgichen, people that were mishgichen in different yeshivas, and they were someone brought it up, and everybody joined the bandwagon. It's not proper. The schools that they come from, these were all high school above, but the schools they come from have to let us know more about the child. They don't tell us what's he like. They tell us nothing. They're not guiding us. Everyone's saying it, and I got up there and I said, if you need them to tell you about, then you're not doing your job. You have to know your student. You have to know your child. What is his midos? What are his midos? What makes him happy? What makes him say? What you have to know your child. And on the contrary, it's a tremendous opportunity. When he came from a school that maybe he wasn't successful in, like someone who may be coming to Neveh, he's coming to a school that he wasn't successful in. So give him, now it's a new slate. You don't want to know him as he was in that school. You want to know his potential, what he could be. So don't ask them to tell you about the child. I wouldn't even want to know what about the child. I want to start on my own. And they accept
Very
it.
nice.
Wow.
MS.
Okay, any other questions?
How about Neveh wife Shiurim?
What shiurim do you want?
I have a request for a shiur. Can we get a shiur on how to maintain emuna in these times of peril?
Okay. In time, okay. Bli neder, I will try to speak about that next Tuesday.
Looking forward. Another question on the topic that we were discussing. what are some factors that can cause a parent to be blindsided from their children's shortcomings or areas that the children need to work on?
If they want to deny, their task in life and their problems, families, have their own. I want to see my son do this, so they ignore the fact that he has no desire or talent for it, or and they blind themselves. It's their own pre-programming or their own negias that blind them. And parent has to be in life. We have to be very, very careful to know that we are looking for the truth. We ask Hashem every single day. I ask Hashem to please let me understand what is the truth, and not to make a mistake of being blinded by some negia or predisposition which I have. That takes a lot of work, but if they want something which the child isn't, then they're not going to see what the child is, and that's bad.
I can honestly say that was a very refreshing answer. I can imagine the typical menchanchim saying things like, put down the treifa phones and all the distractions, which is MS, but that seems those are external factors. It seems like the Mash really drove the point home by focusing on the internal kochos and nefesh of a person. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we have extreme limitations now, and there's only so much we can do in terms of the phone. So we have to work with it. We have to try to give them enough internal motivation that the phone doesn't rule their lives, and that is not an easy task. And just for some of the guys who come from older times, you should know that I don't think that drug problems were easier. Were more difficult. I don't think they were more difficult. I think the phone is more difficult. Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay, fellas. So you can reach me, by the way. I'm going to give you my American line for my Israeli cell phone, 516-204-4112. You can email me at mashneveh, MASHNEVEH @gmail.com. You can WhatsApp me. I don't know my number. All right.
What's your phone number again that you mentioned? I'm going to write it to the group so it's written down.
516-204-4112.
US line in Israel.
Also, guys, I just posted 2 links to the chat. One is for the questionnaire, the Reconnect event, and the questionnaire that we're using to figure out what people want for Shiurim and for reconnecting with their Rebbeim. And as well, there's the Alumni Inner Circle WhatsApp group. Both are linked in the chat, so you can join that chat anytime. Typically, these are all also Facebook Live. Then you can access them after if you want to see a share that you missed. Well, we're doing a big event this Sunday at it will be 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. And it's going to be a pre-Lag BaOmer event featuring, I think, 3 or 4 of the Rebbeim. I believe Rabbi Falk, Rabbi Feldman, the Mash, and Rabbi Slavin. And it's going to be emceed by Rabbi Karloff. It's going to be about an hour and a half. So it's a little bit shorter than the last event. And we encourage everybody to come and join us for the event. It's going to be really, really geschmack. We're going to be posting links to it, sending out flyers in the next couple of days.
Shkoyach, Avram Yosef. Mash, can you give maybe a 20-second lesson for somebody who doesn't have kids or isn't married? Or maybe somebody who's considering having kids, whatever it is, because like a snippet or something.
Like I said, accept whatever is challenging in your life as this is what Hashem is sending you to overcome. Maybe it's finding the shidduch. right? Maybe it's getting yourself ready to get married. But whatever it might be, whatever challenge might be in life, be happy with it and know that this is a positive thing because this is what Hashem wants you to work on. So that, like I said, that concept you can use for any aspect in life.
But when does somebody when does where does personal responsibility end and personal accountability end? And Amuna start? Is like it's almost like contradictory, but it can't be. Like we're a team, you know. But yeah, where does that end? Where do we say maybe I made a mistake and I have to fix it versus it's from Hashem?
That's a curveball.
That's a whole lecture in itself. It's a whole
Love it.
discussion in itself.
All right, Avram Yais, put it on the list for the next year.
That's an A-grade shear. Shkaya.
But the thing is,
Excellent,
you always have to see, can what do you have to do? What mistake did you make? But you have to know in terms of what Hashem is giving you, and that it's all for the best, right? There's a time of the day when you're davening to Hashem and you're asking for really changes in what you want, and then afterwards you know that it's all for the best. So you make your hishtadlus, and at the same time you have to know what to do. But that requires more time. Okay, fellas, I think that it's 9 o'clock over here in this neck of the woods, and we had a very, very stormy day. I don't know what happened. Everybody, I hope, is staying roughly. We had a very stormy day with winds, hard rain. What do you call it? Thunder and lightning. Thunder and lightning. And so I think that my wife is probably a little bit hungry now to eat some supper. So
That's the most cracked apps ever.
That was very practical.
Thank you very much. Call to Zegabin.
Let's keep in touch. Thank you for coming.
Mash, I like the picture of Neveh behind you.
Yeah. I have some very good pictures behind me.
You were featured quite heavily in the biography that came out.
Really? I didn't see it yet.
It came out like this month. It's a very intense read, but you're in there quite a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna look for
stories.
It. Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Mash.
Good evening. You hear that, sir?
Where are we here? Hey guys.
Hey.
What's up, gents? Cordo, you there?